Hello and Merry Christmas, and welcome to the latest installment of My Dad Listens to This. I'm Juliet the daughter.
And I'm Santa Claus. Kevin the dad.
And this week, listeners, we have a Christmas gift for you, yes you, from Phil Spector. Don't worry, it's not death. So, Dad, what do we need to know about this album?
Well, as someone once noted, and I really wish I could remember who said this, Phil Spector, isn't he the guy who makes all his songs sound like Christmas?
Yeah, even George Harrison's album, All Things Must Pass, which is ironic considering George was a practicing Hindu.
Anyway, Harvey Phillip Spector was born December 26, 1939. In 1949, his father Benjamin committed suicide, and engraved on his tombstone were the words, "To know him was to love him." Remember that? In 1953, his mother moved the family to Los Angeles. Phil went to John Burroughs Junior High, then on to Fairfax High School. Spector learned to play the guitar and performed Rock Island Line at the high school's talent show. He also joined a loose-knit community of aspiring musicians, including Lou Adler, who went on to produce the Mamas and Papas and Carole King, Bruce Johnston, who was a singer, songwriter, and Beach Boy, Steve Douglas, who was sax man for the Wrecking Crew, and drummer Sandy Nelson. Also during this time, producer and co-owner of Gold Star Studios in Hollywood, Stan Ross, tutored Phil Spector in record production. Spector had formed the Teddy Bears with Marshall Lieb and Annette Kleinbard. Their first single on Era Records, "Don't You Worry, My Little Pet," didn't do well, but their next single on Era's subsidiary label, Dore, shot to number one. "To Know Him is to Love Him." They signed with Imperial Records, released a third single that went nowhere, released an album that tanked, and called it a day in 1959.
Dang.
While recording the Teddy Bears album, Phil met Lester Sill, who mentored songwriters Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller. Sill arranged for Spector The Apprentice with Lieber and Stoller. It paid off. He co-wrote Spanish Harlem, which became a top 10 hit for Benny King, and played the stinging guitar solo on the Drifters song on Broadway. Spector produced other acts, and eventually Lieber and Stoller recommended Spector to produce Corina Corina for Ray Peterson, which went to number 9, and Pretty Little Angel Eyes for Curtis Lee, which went to number 7. He also produced one of the steamiest songs ever.
Really?
It's not so much what's said, but how it's being said.
What's the name of it?
"I Love How You Love Me" by the Paris Sisters, which went to number 5.
Okay, by the Paris Sisters. Saving that for later.
Yep, in 1961, he and Lester Sill formed Phil S. Records. Spector found 3 groups he wanted to produce, but 2 of them signed to other labels. But he did manage to snag the 3rd group, the Crystals, and produced There's No Other Like My Baby. In 1962, Spector also took a job as an A&R producer for Liberty Records. There he heard a song written by Gene Pitney called He's a Rebel. Liberty was going to release a version recorded by Vicky Carr. Oh, please let it be him. Oh, God, it must
dear
be
God,
him. Yep.
or I shall die. Mom loves that song.
But Phil rushed into Gold Star Studios to record his version with Darlene Love and the Blossoms. Spector credited it to the Crystals, and it went to number 1. By that time, Lester Sill was out of the company, and Phil had Phyllis Records all to himself. "It's mine, I tell you! It's all mine! Mine, 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 mine!" He created a new group, Bobby Sox and the Blue Jeans, which consisted of Bobby Sheen, Fanita James, and Darlene Love.
Oh.
Because she was like, in the early days, she was everywhere. They had hits with Zippity Doo-Dah, Why Do Lovers Break Each Other's Hearts, and Not Too Young to Get Married. Darlene sings lead on all of them. Spector also released solo material by Darlene in 1963 and also produced Be My Baby by the Ronettes. Now, to backtrack a little, with the recording of Zippity Doo-Dah, Phil perfected his sound, the wall of sound, coined by Stones manager Andrew Luke Oldham. Basically, he used large ensembles of musicians and instruments, like 4 guitars, 3 pianos, multiple drum kits, 6 or 7 horns, just making everything sound big, and his influence cannot be overstated. I mean, people from ABBA to Bruce Springsteen have copied that sound. Like I
can hear it with Bruce.
If you check out ABBA songs like Waterloo or Fernando, and with Bruce Springsteen's Born to Run album, and he intentionally wanted it to sound like Phil Spector.
And it sounds good.
And the Pet Sounds album by the Beach Boys, and Brian Wilson was Phil's greatest student/disciple, to the point where Brian had the Wrecking Crew play on his music other than the boys themselves. The rest of the boys were just brought in for doing the harmonies.
Huh, okay.
Also in 1963, he assembled his roster along with the studio musicians known as the Wrecking Crew to create A Christmas Gift for You. It was released on November 22nd, 1963.
Oh, no.
It didn't sell well.
Yikes.
Yep.
Oh, that's rough.
Also in 63, Spector signed the Righteous Brothers after buying out their contract from Moonglow Records. Their huge hits were You've Lost That Love and Feeling, Just Once in My Life, Unchained Melody, and Ebb Tide. And then Phil started losing interest in them, and in about 1965 or 66, they went to another label, and they brought his sound with them. They were able to reproduce it and crank out more hits. In 1966, Spector signed Ike and Tina Turner and produced what he thought was his best work, River Deep, Mountain High. It stalled at number 88.
Oh.
Phil was so crushed he stopped producing, holing up in his mansion with wife Veronica Ronnie Bennett, lead singer of the Ronettes.
No, that's not the one he murked, right?
No.
Okay, we'll get to that later.
In 1969, he came back and had a hit with Black Pearl by Sonny Charles and Checkmates Limited. In 1970, he gets a call from everyone's favorite scary manager, Alan Klein, who says, "Hey, I got this group over here in England that needs some help. You want to come over and see what you can do?" So Phil goes over, and the first thing he does, he produces Instant Karma for John Lennon, leading John to bring in Phil to salvage the Let It Be sessions, and possibly giving Paul another reason to quit the band.
We might find that out if we watch the Get Back documentary. We'll see.
Phil would go on to produce All Things Must Pass and The Concert for Bangladesh for George, Plastic Ono Band, Imagine, and Sometime in New York City, and Rock and Roll for John. Now, Lennon gave Phil free rein on rock and roll, which resulted in substance abuse, chaotic arrangement, and the brandishing of guns.
Yikes.
At one point, Phil fired a shot while John was recording.
Oh, that's some awful foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Now, in the 70s, Spector became more of a recluse, especially after a car incident in which he was thrown through the windshield. So remember, kids, always wear your seatbelts. He was almost killed, but an officer at the scene detected a faint pulse, thus not being declared dead at the scene. He suffered head injuries, had hours of surgeries, and get this, had over 300 stitches to his face and 400 to the back of his head.
Ow!
Now, this may have been the reason why he wore the wigs that he did in later years. They were just,
that might be
really
up.
crazy looking.
Yeah.
In 1972, Ronnie Spector managed to escape barefoot from Phil's mansion with the help of her mother. Ronnie eventually surrendered custody of her kids, who they had adopted, because Phil threatened to hire a hitman to kill her.
Holy shit.
The kids both later stated that they were kept captive by Phil, among other things. Basically, it was a house of horrors for them.
Oh, God, those poor kids.
Yeah. He went on to produce Death of a Ladies' Man for Leonard Cohen and End of the Centuries for Ramones. And fans of each act hated those albums.
Yeah, Phil Spector and the Ramones doesn't sound like it would mix well.
But with the Ramones, he got them some almost hits with Do You Remember Rock and Roll Radio and a cover of the Ronettes' Baby I Love You.
Do you have those?
Yes.
Okay.
Also with the Ramones, there were stories how Phil threatened the band with a gun during recording sessions.
Great! Again!
Like
Listeners,
Dee Dee was saying, yeah, he held us captive, but their drummer Tommy was saying, no, he could have walked out whenever he wanted.
Listeners, don't pity this man too much.
Now, from 1981 to 2003, Phil Spector did not do a lot, but he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1989.
Crap.
In 1991, his Back to Mono box was released. It needs to be remastered, but other than that, it's a textbook example of how a box set should be made. Massive book that has the lyrics, credits up the yin yang, photos of all the major Wrecking Crew members, as well as the artists, and an essay by Tom Wolfe. The first three discs are all the singles for which Phil was well-known and not well-known, all in chronological order, and the fourth disc is the Christmas album. Phil Spector was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 1997 and received a Grammys Trustees Award in 2000.
What's that?
It's some sort of award for, like, Yeah, we kind of overlooked you when we
Oh, like
probably
the
shouldn't for
honorary
your
Academy
work.
Award?
Sort of, I guess so, yeah.
Okay.
Now, in February 2003, Phil Spector shot actress Lana Clarkson in the mouth.
And if you're like, actress, what movie has she done? If you've ever seen the film My Favorite Year with Peter O'Toole, when you first meet Alan Swan, she's the blonde lady that wakes up next to him in bed and he goes, oh, hello.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's her.
At first, he said it was suicide, but his driver, in an emergency call, said that Spector told him, I may have killed somebody.
Yeah.
He was out on $1 million bail. The trial was held in March 2007 with a mistrial declared in September due to a hung jury.
Oh.
The retrial was in October 2008, and in April 2009, the jury came back with a guilty verdict.
Yep.
Spector was sentenced to 19 years in prison. His health deteriorated in prison to the point where he lost his ability to speak in 2014. He died of complications due to COVID-19 on January 16th, 2021. Now, as for the Christmas album, it was recorded during September and October 1963. Remember earlier I said Darlene Love sang on the Bobby Sox and Crystal songs, lead vocals? Well, for this album, Bobby Sheen sings on the Bobby Sox songs and Lala Brooks sings lead for the Crystals. It was released on, like I said, November 22nd, 1963, and flopped.
Understandably.
Now, original pressings go for $400 to $500, almost the price of what vinyl goes for today. Waka waka, because it's expensive.
Yeah.
Apple Records reissued it in 1972 with a different picture. The original cover, which was brought back, has each of the acts. It looks like they're springing out of gift boxes.
Yep, which we have.
But with the reissue, it's a picture of Phil dressed as Santa, sporting a back to mono button. The reissue gained popularity, and the song started getting radio play. It was reissued on more labels as vinyl until finally Rhino Records got their hands on it for the first CD issue in 1987. A second CD issue was on Chrysalis for the UK market. The third issue was when Phil Spector and Larry Levine remastered it for the Abco Back to Mono box set. In 2009, Sony Music took over the distribution rights for Phil S Records and re-released it on their Legacy Recordings imprint. As for me, I got the Rhino version when it first came out in 87.
Oh, wow.
And then the Abco version when I bought the Back to Mono box. It was just in there.
Did you hear the stuff on the radio all the time growing up?
Not a whole hell of a lot. It was more like when I was a lot older.
Okay.
I started hearing it more. Now, the Phil Spector Christmas album is regarded as being the greatest Christmas album ever made. But is it?
Let's find out. First track, White Christmas. The Irving Berlin classic that sounds better as an upbeat ballad a la Darlene Love or The Drifters than the Big Crosby original, which I never liked. The only part I never liked about Darlene's version as a kid was the monologue sandwiched in the middle of the song, because as a kid, you just want to sing along, you don't want anything to interrupt the flow. But as an adult, I kind of appreciate the context. Darlene laments being in LA on Christmas Day, and honestly, I would too, because to me, Christmas in LA sounds horrible. Give me New England Christmas with its bitter cold any day where the people are real and don't BS about anything. Anyways, I just like it because it adds a backstory to a Christmas song without losing any of the Christmas magic. The song's not ruined, just enhanced. I still prefer the Drifters, but I won't skip over Darlene.
Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that part when she goes, that middle part where she's talking, Irving Berlin wrote that too. And it used to be at the beginning of the song. I mean, a lot of people obviously leave it out, but that's how it would start off. And that's why he was dreaming of a white Christmas.
Gotcha.
Now, this song is recognized as one of the following: either the greatest Christmas song ever, the most famous Christmas song ever, or the ultimate Christmas song ever. Written by a nice Jewish man, Irving Berlin.
A lot of Jewish people have written Christmas songs.
Yep.
Irving Berlin, Mel Torme. You could find a whole list if you Google it.
Yep. Now, if he had only written this song, he'd still be immortal. God knows how many versions have been recorded. And Bing Crosby's is the most famous.
Yep.
And that's the one that I always heard when I was a kid.
My generation, for us, the Drifters one is the more famous just because of how it was used in Home Alone.
And for me, it's not Christmas without hearing the Bingles version at least once. There's also what I think is the best and funnest version ever by the Drifters. And I think you might have talked about this last year, but someone made a cartoon video to go with it, and you can find it on YouTube, and it's perfect.
It's perfect. It's great. It's wonderfully dated, and it doesn't feel dated in a bad way. It's cute.
Yep. Now, as for this version, 3 piano notes started off, and then what sounds like the biggest band in the world kicks in, only to be bested by the biggest voice in the world, owned by Darlene Love. And she even does the sun is shining, the grass is green rap in the middle, which makes sense because they were in California making this album. Great opening track. And as a side note, go on YouTube and check out SNL's Christmas Time for the Jews, which is also sung by Darlene Love.
Next track, Frosty the Snowman. This is me being nitpicky, but from childhood to adulthood, I never liked the way she said Frosty's name. Frosty. It's like Ghostbusters, what do you want? I think some people might find it cute, but I find it annoying and nasal. Apologies to the Ronettes, but I feel like they kind of got skunked with this song. For me, nothing will top the original version that Jimmy Durante sang in the Rankin Bass cartoon. That one, not the BS one that was never in the special that Spotify has, even though they claim it is, but I can tell. I will say, though, the addition of a string section makes Frosty more sophisticated, which isn't really an adjective you think of when listening to Frosty the Snowman, but it makes for a nice change. Still, I am partial to the cartoon because Frosty is my favorite Rankin Bass short.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, Frosty the Snowman, or Frosty, as sung by Ronnie Spector, and that's F-R-A-W-S-T-Y, because you can take the girl out of New York, but...
Can't take New York out of the girl.
Yeah. And anyway, Hal Blaine just goes nuts on the drums, which, you know, you really don't expect someone going crazy on a Christmas song, but he just does. And yeah, like you said, the strings definitely give it that classy element. But I mean, I just love this song. She can sing it any way she wants.
All right.
It's so much fun.
Next track.
I like the Jimmy Durante one too.
I do too.
I know that's the original though. I'm not sure how old the song is.
That's pretty old.
But I mean, like Frosty came out in what, some 69?
60-something. It was one of their later
and this
ones.
came out in 63, so this version was before his.
Next track, The Bells of St. Mary's. Fun fact, the song came before the movie. It was written in 1917. It was made famous when Bing Crosby sang it in the film of the same name in 1945 with Ingrid Bergman. I think this song is the instance where the Phil Spector wall of sound doesn't work. What happens is the music really drowns out Bobby Sox's singing voice, and you really have to strain to listen. But the catchiest part of this song is when the Blue Jeans sing Love Bells Showering Out, which will definitely be stuck in your head even if you don't remember the rest of the song, because you can't hear it. An okay song, but I definitely think this is the most memorable version due to the album being iconic. Sorry, Bing, skunked again.
Yeah, this was written in 1917 by A. Emmett Adams and Douglas Furber after visiting St. Mary's Church in Southampton, England. And like you said, the song was revived in 1945 for the film of the same name, starring Bing Crosby as
a priest,
Father O'Malley,
yeah,
and Ingrid Bergman as a nun.
Yep.
Because she did not have that reputation back then. Oof.
No, I feel bad for her.
Yeah, she went through a lot of crap.
Yep.
The association of this song with Christmas has to do with a Christmas pageant scene in the movie. That's it, because, I mean, Red Leaves Are Falling are part of the lyrics, and that sounds more like fall, and Christmas is never overtly referenced in the song at all. And I think Bobby Sheen does a terrific job trying to, like, be heard above the music.
Oh, he tries. He tries really hard.
And I think he's a great singer. And, you know, again, Hal Blaine goes about predicting the coming of Keith Moon. I mean, the band is just like very loud and it's like very in your face. And yeah, you kind of do have to struggle with. But I wonder if that was done on purpose because it was like, yeah, this isn't a Christmas song, so let's have the band play louder and we'll put Bobby in the background just a little bit so people don't realize, wait a minute, there's no Santa or snow or Jesus or nothing.
Oh, it sucks for Bobby, poor dude. Next track, Santa Claus is coming to town. More context. We hear that someone recently paid a trip to the North Pole to visit Santa, who is very busy. So, Jimmy, you better write your letter because Santa Claus is coming to town. I never liked this song all that much, but this version is a bop. And the upbeat intro makes for a great transition after a really dreamy monologue. And I guarantee you, without this version, we wouldn't have Springsteen's cover or the cover the Jackson 5 did for that matter. Oh, and whoever's playing the drums, is it Hal Blaine again?
Yeah.
He really kicks ass. Sometimes you didn't know a song needed drums until they're added.
Yep, Lala Brooks starts off the song telling little Jimmy about how Santa's just so busy getting things ready, so he better write his letter and get it out, or else. No.
Or else? What?
He won't get what he wanted.
Oh, no.
And then after that, things kick into high gear. Great sax solo by Steve Douglas.
Very good.
Yes, makes the song. And Hal Blaine, once again, just laying waste to everything in sight. And let's not forget Sonny Bono working the bells on this and all the other songs.
Oh, I didn't know that was him.
Yeah, he was always credited with percussion, so it could have been tambourines, bells, whatever, anything that just,
So you could
had
call
to hit,
him,
except for the drums.
you could call him a bellboy?
You could. And I gotta say, yeah, people rag a lot on Sonny, and he always kind of had, that was intentional with his stage persona when he was with Cher. He was like the goofy guy who didn't know what was going on.
Oh, yeah.
But he freaking ran the show behind the scenes.
And plus, he did a lot of work in the U.S. Congress in terms of musicians and copyright over their stuff.
Well, that's basically the reason that he ran to become a representative, was to change those laws for his own purpose. No, I mean to help others.
Yeah, sure.
And another thing, he absorbed a lot about record producing just by being in the studio from Phil and watching him. And you listen to like the early stuff that he produced and you'd swear it was Phil. I mean, it definitely paid off.
Next track, Sleigh Ride. If you look up the music video they made for this song, it's very cute with animation that looks like a Christmas card come to life. Honestly, this is my favorite version of Sleigh Ride with a catchy ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ding-dong-ding in the background, and it feels fun. The instrumental version of Sleigh Ride feels too formal, like, yes, we are having fun, but we are having structured fun in accordance with the laws of writing a nice piece of music. This one is just something you could dance to, as I'm sure every track on this album was written to be. And when we do get a short instrumental, it doesn't disrupt the flow at all. Great cover, ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ding-dong-ding.
Greatest vocal version of this song ever.
Yeah.
Now, the greatest instrumental version, which you've just insulted in front of my face, is by Arthur Fiedler and the Boston Pops.
Oh, yeah.
And
that was
yeah,
a good one.
it could be mannered or whatever, but I don't think so. I think it's a lot of fun.
No, my favorite one. Have you seen the video? It's on YouTube. It's this high school, I think, and it's like I don't know if it's quite a string quartet, but it's a group of musicians playing. And in the background, there's this guy who has like
The clapper?
the clapper, and he just runs and jumps midair and claps it in perfect time to the music. It's hilarious.
Huh. Now, both the Boston Pops version and this version, they come with the horse neighs.
Yep.
But the Ronettes version has the unforgettable ring-a-ling-a-ling-ding-dong-ding. And that's what everyone remembers about this song. They may not be able to identify it, but they know they've heard the ring-a-ling-a-ding-dong-ding. And you just cannot beat that. Like I said, greatest vocal version ever.
Okay, next track, Marshmallow World. An ode to snow that is a little too cutesy for my taste. This is like someone tried to describe the land of sweets from the Nutcracker Ballet and sort of failed to capture the epic magic. And the lyrics are kind of clunky, so I can see why it's not as widely played during the Christmas season. For example, they say that the sun is, quote, red as a pumpkin head. First, if the sun is red, that means it's dying and we're all doomed. Second, red pumpkins do exist, but most people associate pumpkins with the color orange. Can you tell that Brent Black of Brentalphalos is rubbing off on me with my lyric critiques? Hi, Brent, if you're listening. There's only so much Darling Love can do, and the snippet of Deck the Halls at the end is very clear and flows well with the music, but it isn't enough to make up for the rest of the song. Oh well.
It was written in 1949, and it was a hit for Bing Crosby in 1950. And again, this is another one of those songs where it's more of a winter song rather than a Christmas one because it's never mentioned. Now, for some reason, it's associated with Dean Martin more than anyone else.
Really? I was associating with Baby It's Cold Outside and those three girls singing.
Well, I mean, he can be associated with more than one Christmas song.
That's true.
But when I was on the interwebs there and I typed in Marshmallow World, all these websites with Dean's version came up. I mean, loads of them. His version is swoopy and scoopy and goofy.
Yeah.
Like he can't believe he has to sing this song in the first place.
As with most of the Bee songs that he got.
Yeah, that Frank just said, hey, I ain't doing this crap, give it to Dean.
Damn it, Frank.
Now, this version starts off with a pleasant stringing introduction, and then... The band comes in with Darlene Love, who surveys her marshmallow world over which she rules. And Steve Douglas is by her side with another great sax solo. And yes, I'm going to say it again, Hal Blaine. You can't forget Hal Blaine. It's kind of like, the song is kind of like a mess, if that makes sense.
It's a mess.
And I kind of wonder if it's because the marshmallows are melting and the goo is just getting all over the place. The imagery of a marshmallow world, I think it's just like, oh, it's just all sticky and I'm getting stuck in this. And
Kids would love it, but as you grow up, you're like, ugh, you're gross.
They probably would. They probably would.
All right, I saw Mommy kissing Santa Claus. It took me years to realize that Santa was actually the dad dressed up, because I wasn't alone in thinking this. As you can see from a couple of posts on the internet, many people, including me, thought this song was actually about cheating on your husband with the real Santa Claus.
Well, if you're gonna cheat, go with the big man.
The song starts off sweet with strings, then a knock on the door, followed by a cartoonish smooch noise, and then the sound of someone walking away. My version would have the mother going, "Oh, Santa!" getting a little too in character, you know? Wink. Anyways, the song is fine, but not one of my go-to Christmas songs. Once again, though, Phil Spector has a great short instrumental in the middle for the string section. This time, it's not to give the song a sophisticated air, but to make the track longer. Not that I'm complaining, I quite like it. If I had to listen to this song, this or the Jackson 5 cover will do. Bonus points because the Jackson 5 one has an actual kid singing.
Yeah, that's true. Even though it's Michael.
Yeah.
I'm still not sure. Is it the daddy dressed up as Santa? Or is the big man himself getting down with the kid's mom?
Adultery on Christmas.
I guess so.
Yep.
And, the kid sees it, so that's got to scar anyone for life. So let's write a song about it. And for me, it's like Ronnie's into the whole thing just a little too much. It's like she can't wait for her dad to kick Santa's ass if he caught them. And the thing I'll say about like the Jackson 5 version is, at one point Michael's saying, I did see
You gotta believe me.
And I'm going to tell my dad. It's like, oh shit.
Oh, if you know anything about the Jackson's
Joe
dad.
Jackson, he's going to just take off his belt and just start wailing on Santa. But yeah, I like this version. I think it's fun. There's still that ambiguity for me, but just Ronnie makes it just that much fun.
Right, next track. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Okay, I'm gonna come out with it. I am sick of Rudolph. I'm sick of the song, maybe a little bit sick of the special, and I'm sick of having to watch him get bullied every year, only for everyone to stop bullying him once he suddenly becomes quote-unquote useful. I don't mean to hate the special, though. I mean, I enjoy Burl Ives, Yukon Cornelius, Herbie, The Abominable, and most of the side characters, but every time I hear the song on the radio, I turn the volume down and wait patiently for the next track. But with this one, I love the touch of castanets to sound like antler hooves racing across the ground.
That's our Sonny.
And then we have this majestic instrumental, which I guess works for Rudolph since he is the hero who did save Christmas. And yet I'm so sick of this song that I'm like, do we really need this? The crystals sound fine, but geez, this song. The special is the only Rudolph-related content I need, and then I'm good for the whole season.
You might need to switch from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer to Run, Rudolph, Run by Chuck Berry.
I don't like Run, Rudolph, Run. We've been over this.
Aww.
I just don't like...
Anything to do with Rudolph? Is it just the name Rudolph?
I was just oversaturated with it as a kid. It was the one Christmas song you always sang in, Christmas pageants and Christmas choir concerts as a kid over and over. It's like, I already know the story. I'm sick of it. I don't want to sing this anymore. I want to sing something else.
That's like me and It's a Wonderful Life. I just watched it too many times and I can't watch it anymore. Or like me with eggnog. I just drank too much of it and... Okay, granted I made eggnog pancakes this morning.
But it was pancakes.
That was pancakes.
Yeah.
It wasn't drinking the stuff straight.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Gene Autry's version is the most famous, having sold 25 million copies.
I can't stand that one. And the one and the two and the doink, doink, doink. Oh, God.
Now, this is probably the calmest song on the album, which isn't criticism, it's just an observation.
Really? With Silent Night on here, too?
Well, we'll get to that.
Okay.
But I kind of don't look at that as like a song.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just for like a regular straight song. I think this is the most calmest song on the album. I think Lala Brooks turns in a solid performance. I don't have any problems with it. I'm not sick of Rudolph yet. I'm not sick of the special yet. I don't know why. I've seen it a hell of a lot more than It's a Wonderful Life, but I think It's a Wonderful Life just gets on my nerve because there are just so many things wrong with those people in that movie.
Like Annie Corson says, if you look at it from another angle, it's a horror movie. It's about this man who watches all of his ambitions and his dreams just die. Anyway.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas. Next track, Winter Wonderland. I remember one time at Vigilia we were singing this, and when we reached the last line, Uncle Joe did the whoa, whoa, whoa part, so we had to keep going for at least one more line. To be honest, this doesn't sound like Darlene Love, because she and the backup singers blend so well together that it sounds like a girl group. She only really stands out with the whoa, whoa, whoas at the end. They don't even give her a higher melody to sing and show off with, which, come on, it's Darlene Love, give her some oomph. Winter Wonderland, I've liked a bit more over the years. It wasn't my favorite as a kid because Mom made me listen to it over and over again and made me say it was my favorite Christmas song one time at one of those Blue Cross Christmas parties, even though it wasn't. But I've grown to like it and sing along to it absentmindedly. Just give Darlene something more to do with this.
Well, I just learned a few things.
Yeah, and I remember, like, the woman called on me and I said, Winter Wonderland? And she said, Winter Wonderland, and Mom gave me the thumbs up. Even though I was like, I never really liked it. It was just like, oh, okay, I guess this is my favorite now because my mommy said so. It's a good song, but it's not my favorite.
Anyway, back to Christmas, everybody. Yeah, Darlene's vocal is, it sounds like it's double or triple tracked.
Yeah.
And it gives it almost an anonymous feel to her performance, kind of harkening back to the days when she was the uncredited lead singer for the Crystals and Bobby Sox and the Blue Jeans. Was it Phil's way of saying, I did this to you before, and I can do it again, so watch it.
Ugh.
Now, when your mom and I saw Darlene some years ago at the Park Theater, front row seats, by the way,
Nice.
she told the audience, well, Phil's in there, and I'm out here.
Good for her.
So I guess she won that battle.
Oh, yes, she did.
But yeah, I mean, it's a good version, but yeah, it's almost kind of, vocally, it's kind of muted for her.
Yeah. Oh, that bastard. Anyway, next track, Parade of the Wooden Soldiers. I could never make out the lyrics, but thanks to Google, now I understand. Similar to Cricket on the Hearth, the toys in this story come to life after midnight and start to have a party with the wooden soldiers parading and flirting with the dolls. I must say, it's a happy alternative to the steadfast tin soldier. I wanted to smack that bratty kid in the face when he threw that poor little toy in the fire and the ballerina jumped him after him so they could only be united in death. Merry Christmas, huh? This is also the first time Phil Spector doesn't give the song a definitive ending and we just have the classic fade out on the chorus. Not complaining, just observing the difference. I also realized that pretty much all of these songs would make great ringtones with their openings for the Christmas season.
Yeah, they would, wouldn't they?
Because you'd know exactly what it is and it gets your attention. Okay, track, and again, not my favorite, but I wouldn't skip over it because I like that dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun, you know.
This was written in 1897 by Leon Jessel. And Ballad MacDonald added the clunky words in 1922. Because like you said, you know, now we have lyric accessibility.
Yeah.
And I'm reading these things and I'm like, oh man, this is just awkward. This is the only version of the song that I've ever heard. And I think the Crystals do a really good job with it, trying to like, I guess, smooth it out vocally. Because like I said, you read the words and it's just lumpy, clunky. But yeah, they do a good job with it. I don't have a problem with the song at all.
Okay. Next, the iconic Christmas, parentheses, Baby Please Come Home. Here it is, David Letterman's favorite Christmas song. If you want to see a great live version of this, which we watched this morning, Google her performance of this for Dave's last ever Christmas episode. Paul did a great band arrangement, Darlene looks gorgeous, there's a choir putting in the most, and plus it snows on stage. What more could you ask for? What's interesting, though, is that they made a music video on Darlene Love's YouTube channel for little kids, where, in this context, a little girl's dog runs away, and she's looking all over town to bring it back.
Aww.
It kind of took me back for a sec, but then I realized it kind of works, because a kid would feel the same kind of heartache, just for a different reason. At the end, Darlene dedicates the music video to her sister Edna Wright, who sang background with her, which I found rather sweet. It's a great ballad that she sings the crap out of, and I can see why everyone loves it. You're either in the group that has been in that position where the person you love the most can't be with you for Christmas, or you're in the group where you want Darlene Love to be with her man come hell or high water. Take your pick. I can see why this was her biggest hit, and she deserves it. And look who got the last laugh.
This song was written specifically for the album, and as Darlene Love herself said, you know, it's the greatest rock and roll Christmas song, and it was written by 3 Jews. Jeff Barry, Ellie Greenwich, and Phil Spector. And like I said, it's often looked on as the greatest rock and roll Christmas song ever. And why is that?
Darlene, she sings the shit out of it.
You are darn right. She just captures the yearning in the lyric like no one else has or ever will. Yeah, Bublé. Yeah, I'm looking at you. And you too, Bono. Yeah.
Bono?
Bono.
No!
Yeah.
Oh, I hate Bono. When I went to the Dunk, I kid you not, when I went there, they had photos of all these people who had played there, and they had Bono. I flipped off his picture. I didn't even care. I was like, oh, ew.
Wow.
Again, if you want more about why I hate Bono, watch the documentary Poverty Inc. and about how his involvement for humanitarian aid actually hasn't been that good.
Yeah. Anyway, to me, this is just one of those songs that should not be remade.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just leave it alone.
Leave
Put
it
the
by
microphone
itself.
down and walk away.
Mm-hmm.
Even with karaoke, do not attempt it.
Nobody, regardless of if you're a man, woman, whatever, just don't do it.
And like I said, beginning in 1986 and continuing until 2014, it became a Christmas tradition for Darlene to come on David Letterman's show, both the NBC and the CBS versions,
Oh, wow, that's old.
to sing this every single year. Like I said, 1986 to 2014. That's a lot of math there. She did it 29 times.
Good for her.
Yep, just a great song.
Next track, Here Comes Santa Claus. Another Christmas classic I never much cared for. This cover is fine, but it's not exactly a song I go actively out of my way to listen to every year. Like, I have to listen to Here Comes Santa Claus. No, that's not me. But Bobby Sox and the Blue Jeans sound great singing it. There are also lyrics I never heard before, and maybe that was them attempting to make the song more mature, but it's a nice change of pace. That's kind of all I have to say about this song, so if you have more to add, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, there are two versions that I've heard. Well, actually three. The Gene Autry one, which was used in Christmas Vacation when the police raid the house.
We still have to watch that.
Yeah.
Do you want to do that one today?
Yeah, why not?
All right.
And then there's also Elvis's version.
I've heard that one.
It's not bad, and he kind of does it almost like for the kids.
Yeah, Elvis did a song for the kids. It's
Yeah.
not bad. It's fine.
It's not bad at all.
We think Elvis is overrated a little bit, but when he knocks it out of the park, he knocks it out of the park,
I
to be
will
fair to
admit that,
him.
yep.
Yeah.
And the thing with this is like, okay, after Darlene's song, we just all need to calm down.
We need a breather.
Yep. And here come Bobby Sox and the Blue Jeans to help out.
Yep.
And even though this song is over the top because it's a Phillip Spector production, it sounds absolutely peaceful after what Darlene just put us through.
But in a good way, what
Yes.
she put us through.
Yes.
Not to be like, oh, Darlene, give us a break. No. It's like, wow, I need to sit still for a few minutes just to
and
process
so we've got
this.
Here Comes Santa Claus, and Bobby Sheen does a great job. I have no complaints about the song whatsoever. It's kind of like it's kind of like a sorbet for that mental palate. You know?
And it's a good sorbet. It's a fine sorbet.
Now the moment you've been waiting for, I'm sure.
Oh, boy. Silent Night. Imagine the most calming Christmas lullaby in history, and then you hear the voice of a convicted murderer in your ear. And now that he's dead, it feels like the ghost of Phil Spector coming to haunt you and to remind you that his music will live on forever. I bet the artists who worked on this no longer look back on this part as a meaningful, sincere dedication. I know that I don't want Phil's ghost to thank me for anything. And the sad part is that this arrangement is so beautiful, and he treats it with respect. No big sound, just strings and vocalises making for something very beautiful. I bet there's a version out there on the internet where someone edited out his voice, to which I say, thank you for your service.
Yeah, it's like Silent Night, and you're like, just when you think the album's over, we get this.
We get Phil.
Yep, whilst the band is playing Silent Night, and like you said, it's very calm, it's in the background. Phil Spector himself does a voiceover, trying to express his feelings for making this album.
You could have written that in like the inside jacket of the album. You could have written it down and we wouldn't have needed this.
Well, he did write the liner notes, and they are kind of similar to what he's saying here.
Then just read the liner notes. We don't need this.
He had to gush about Christmas.
Oh, boy.
He thanks all the people who worked on the album in his endeavor to bring something new and different to the music of Christmas and the recording industry, which is so much a part of his life. The biggest thanks go to us, the listeners, though, for giving him the opportunity to relate his feelings of Christmas through the music that he loves.
Meanwhile, all the people who worked with him are like, no habla inglés.
He then goes on to say he's proud of his artists, lists them one by one, and wishes us the merriest of Christmases and the happiest of New Years, and thanks us for letting them spend Christmas
Meanwhile,
with us.
it's like that vine, you better watch out, you better watch out, you better watch out, you better watch out.
Was he sincere? Don't know. He may have been.
If that's
And
not,
then
that's good
after
acting.
he does his thing, the gang sings a little of Silent Night, but again, it's all subdued. And could we have done without this? Maybe. maybe, but
If we edited out his voice, we could keep it.
I think it would have been even odder without his voice, because you kind of would have been
Really?
wondering, well, what's this all about? Something seems to be missing.
No, it's just like a nice calming version of it to end, and also like a bit of a reminder that Christmas is like a sacred holiday for some people.
Like a little coda.
Yeah, coda. A Christmas coda.
But then again, it is Phil Spector, so some strangeness is to be expected.
Oh, God.
And like I said, maybe, just maybe, he actually believed everything he said in his soliloquy. Maybe. Don't know.
It's a
We'll never
Christmas
know.
miracle.
But to me, the album would be incomplete without it. Like, I just could not end this on Here Comes Santa Claus and just push the Silent Night off to the side. Yeah, it's very different and maybe a little airy, but there's just something about it where maybe it's like the oral equivalent of a car accident where you just
You can't.
trying to drive by, but you can't look away.
Oh, God. That's a heck of a comparison. Merry Christmas.
Okay, now, Phil Spector was known for making great singles, but he had it in him to make one great album, and this is it. If you could only own one Christmas album, this is the one. If you could only own two, it would be this and then A Charlie Brown Christmas by the Vince Guaraldi Trio. And if you could only own three, it would be Phil Spector, Charlie Brown, and believe it or not, Christmas Carols by Mantovani. After that, you're on your own. But for me, this Christmas would not be Christmas without this album. You absolutely need to have it in your collection. You will go out and get it now or call it up on Spotify or whatever it is you kids do these days.
All right, overall, if you're looking for a Christmas album to buy, go get this one. It's got all the iconic songs with unique arrangements, and you won't get sick of listening to it every December. I mean, look at my dad. He listens to this every year, so that should tell you all you need to know.
Not sick of it yet.
Yep, and if you can't go out and buy the album, definitely listen to it online at least once. You'll enjoy it. All right, as always, thank you for listening to the latest installment of My Dad Listens to This. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. And I just want to give a special shout out really quickly. A couple of weeks ago on Twitter, I posted saying it would be nice if I got 10 more subscribers to my YouTube channel. And within minutes, Dade Audio on YouTube and PamTown on YouTube both made that happen by spraying that tweet like wildfire. And I got 10 more subscribers all within the span of minutes. So Dade and Pam, you are two of the nicest people I have ever met on the internet. I love it whenever I interact with you. Dade, you're a great actor. Pam, you're one of the most talented writers I have ever known. I love you both so much to the moon and back for doing that. You didn't have to, and I thank you. All right, so if you want to see where we post our episodes, I post them on Twitter, I post them on Instagram and on Facebook, as well as uploading them to YouTube. And if you are friends with my dad, then just say what episode you want, and he can email it right to your inbox. All right, as always, thank you for listening to another installment of My Dad Listens to This. Again, Dade and Pam, I owe you a lot. Happy holidays. Dad, anything you want to say before we sign off?
Yes, I'd like to thank all the people who work so hard on this podcast, which would be me and you. But the biggest thanks goes to our listeners for giving us the opportunity to relay our feelings on all the albums that we have reviewed so far and will go on to review. At the moment, I'm very proud of my daughter Juliet. And on her behalf and myself, I would like to wish you the merriest of Christmases and the happiest of New Years. And thank you for letting us spend a little Christmas time with you.
Silent night.
Goodbye.